Hey everyone, welcome to the lesson for today. We are going to be looking at, again, the short story Charles that we started in class yesterday. But today, this lesson is going to be a little bit different. We talked about the elements of plot yesterday, and you guys worked on a worksheet that dealt with the elements of plot, so what was actually happening in the story. Today, we're going to start with our rereads, and we are going to be using our reading literature analysis protocol. So you guys have had a little bit of experience with this last year, rather. So we are going to look at the first read step on this. So in a moment, I'm going to share and just to kind of give you a heads up on what the reading protocol is, and just kind of refresh your memory on that. And I will show a demonstration of what I would like for you guys to do and how I would like you to annotate your text when it comes time to do that. So I'm going to share my screen here. So as you can see, here is our reading literature and poetry analysis checklist. So as you can see, there are 4 separate reads that we're going to go through. And reading for gist, which you guys did today, is all well and good. But when it comes to analytical reading and writing, we need to dig a little bit deeper than just the basics. Okay, and the first read is going to be even a little bit deeper than what we did today. It's going to be dealing with the subject. Who is the subject of the text? The action, what actually happens in the text, and are the events important? The character relationships. So does the text poem focus on a character or a relationship? The setting. Does the setting play a role in the story? And think in terms of physical setting. And also the narrator. Who is speaking? What kind of narrator? Is it first or third person? And is the narrator involved with the narrative or detached from the narrative? Okay, so that is what we are going to focus on today with the short story Charles, which we read yesterday. Moving on to the story, there's a few things that when you guys go to your work for the day, I want you guys to annotate in this manner. So I'm going to grab a text box, and I'm going to put kind of just a little bit of a legend over here, right? So the 3 things that I want you guys to focus on when you're reading and annotate for are character, setting, and action. All right. When you are annotating, and I'll show you exactly how to do that, I want you to annotate for character using the color yellow. I'll show you exactly what that means. For setting, I'm going to ask that you guys use green. And then for action, please use the color blue. All right. So these are the highlighters that I would like for you guys to use. And this is good to get into a habit of using, because when you reread for the second and the third and the fourth time, you'll already know it's already gonna be color coded. So everything that you see that has to do with the character, it'll be highlighted in yellow, so you can quickly find it when you go to reread the text. Same thing with setting and action. So I'm going to read through the first page, maybe half a page to page, and as I read, I'm going to kind of demonstrate to you guys the way that I would like for you guys to annotate. So this is Charles by Shirley Jackson. The day my son Laurie started kindergarten, he renounced corduroy overalls and with bibs and began wearing blue jeans with a belt. I watched him go off the first morning with the older girl next door, seeing clearly that an era of my life was ended. My sweet-voiced nursery school tot replaced by a long-trousered, swaggering character who forgot to stop at the corner and wave goodbye to me. He came home the same way, the front door slamming open, his cap on the floor, and the voice suddenly become raucous, shouting, "Isn't anybody here?" So I'm going to stop right here because we get a lot of information about the characters. We are introduced to Laurie and the mother as we did talk about in class. But what I want to do is I want to focus on the characterization of these characters when we're talking about character. So this first sentence, the day my son Laurie started kindergarten, he renounced corduroy overalls with bibs and began wearing blue jeans with a belt. So that tells us a lot about the character of Laurie. And we know that from the fact that he is starting kindergarten, we know that age-wise, he is very young. But given the fact that he is, as the mom puts it, he renounced his corduroy overalls with bibs and began wearing blue jeans, that gives us kind of sense that he is a little grown up. So we are going to highlight that text in yellow because that tells us a lot about Laurie as a character. So we're going to highlight that. Okay. So we know that the color coding has to do with character. That tells us a lot about him as a character. And what we want to do now is we want to right-click what we have just highlighted, and we're going to leave a new comment. Okay. And I'm actually going to highlight all of this, and we're going to leave a new comment here. I want to get rid of this. We can leave that right now. But so I have this entire thing highlighted, and I want to give a little note as to why I'm highlighting this. So we can say tells the reader about Laurie. And as I said before, feels more grown up now that he is going to school. Okay. I'm going to see if I can get rid of this because I don't really actually need to do that. Okay. All right. So we have our first comment here. And as you can see, once you leave the comment, if you scroll over it, it actually connects to what you had highlighted in the first place. So next sentence. I watched him go off the first morning with the older girl next door, seeing clearly that an era of my life was ended. My sweet-voiced nursery school tot replaced by a long-trousered, swaggering character who forgot to stop at the corner and wave goodbye to me. Now, I think this is pretty important because it also gives us, it doesn't give us any information about Laurie, but it gives us information about the mom and how she feels about this, about Laurie going to school. So again, I'm going to highlight that, and I may leave a comment that tells the reader about the mother. And again, we're focusing on characterization. So what kind of character is this person? And what is she feeling? She's feeling sad. That Laurie is growing up, or is getting older, and might not need her as much as he used to. So again, now that I have left that comment, I can see that it connects to what I have already have highlighted. So those are just two examples of looking for character. Now this time we can actually go ahead and highlight more than one thing. And I'm going to go to the green highlighter. And I'm going to highlight started kindergarten. Now it's going to maybe change it a little bit different color, but that's okay because it actually lets us again comment on what we just highlighted, and we're going to mark this setting takes place at school. Okay. So all of these things are now annotated for us. And if we want to, we can label these as well. That way we know as soon as we look at the comment, we are talking about the different kinds of things. So the actions. Now we're going to take a look at action. He came home the same way, the front door slamming open, his cap on the floor, and the voice suddenly become raucous, shouting, "Isn't anybody here?" So I'm going to highlight he came home, and again we're going to do this in blue, and we're going to leave a comment. Action. Laurie comes home. Okay. So as you can see that there is a lot going on just in the first couple of paragraphs. And as we go on, you'll notice that there's going to be a lot less of one that we're looking for and a lot more. So action is going to become a little bit more frequent throughout the reading of the story, whereas character, there might be considerably less, because as we discussed in the lesson, in the introduction or the exposition of a story, we get a lot of information about our setting and about our characters, and it's less focused on what is actually happening. That is going to happen more in the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the resolution. This paragraph also gives us another kind of insight into Laurie as a character. The front door is slamming open, his cap on the floor, and the voice suddenly becomes raucous, shouting, "Is anybody here?" So that, as a reader, that tells me a little something about Laurie as a character. So again, we can label this character, the reader, about the way Laurie acts. And how does Laurie act? Well, he slams doors. He throws his things on the floor, and he shouts. So that gives us a little bit more insight into him as a character as well, because if he slams doors, he throws things on the floor, and he shouts, that could tell me that maybe he doesn't have such good manners, right? Doesn't have. So again, this is characterization. This is all telling us about that character. So with that being said, we have gone through, or I have gone through, and given you guys a kind of a demonstration of what I am expecting you to do for the assignment. So what I'm going to ask that you guys do now is continue reading the story, and I would like for you guys on your own to annotate the rest of the story using this color-coded scheme that I've put up here. I want you to highlight and annotate anything that tells us about the character. That can be anything that gives us an insight into that character, anything that tells us about the setting in green, and any parts of action in blue. So there's the presentation, the demonstration on the assignment, looking at our first step of analytical reading for literature. So please take your time with this. You do have plenty of time to do this, but really take your time and make sure that you do the correct annotations. The instructions for the assignment will be in the assignment that I will post to Teams. Of course, if you have any questions or any concerns or anything like that, if you're having any issues whatsoever, please feel free to get in touch with me, and happy learning.